So today I thought, okay, let's just make something really simple. If you don't have a chuck, what do? Well, you can turn a million things. In fact, these bells can be turned between centers. You don't need a chuck to turn something like that. Just have to sand off the ends a little bit when you get finished. And if you're really good with the not skipping, like Joe, sometimes he's pretty good with not skipping, right? But then you hardly have to sand anything on each end. You're done. So I just picked up the bottom of a pallet where they strap it, and the thing runs through the thing. So you got a square thing with a ridge running. I mean, a rabbit running through it. Yeah, like runners. And so I picked up a couple of Lowe's that they were throwing away, and just cut a piece off of it. And this has just been totally turned between centers, and there's still a lot of stuff that you can do with it. I didn't have time to do it, but just very simple things that you don't have to have a lot of skill on this. All you need is a spindle gouge and a parting tool. And by the way, on parting tools, don't go spending a bunch of money for a thin parting tool. Dave McKeithen gave a bunch of pieces of saw blade away, bandsaw blades, make excellent narrow parting tools. Thank you. But okay, so that's how simple it is. All turned between centers. You don't have to have a chuck even. I didn't make as many mistakes as Dave did, so I can't brag about it, but did a little walnut inside out. They're fun, but I don't know why I bother with tape, because just make your blocks long enough and glue them together, and you're a turner. So then after you turn the inside, which is on the outside because of the first step, then just turn them all around and have enough material to glue them back together. And then you're not worried about them coming apart on you. But anyhow, I did not. I don't do that. I made them long enough that I used the glue on the ends, and then just cut it off and started, turned it around, glued them together, and did it again. This block of wood, 3 inches long, 1 3/4 inches square, and it has to be square. If it's not square, your Christmas ornament is not going to look right. So the first thing you do is you mark all sides centered, every one of them. Second thing that you do is to drill a 3/8 inch hole, or if you want to use a different size hole, you can, but 3/8 inch hole in each end. After you do that, you use a Forstner bit and you drill halfway through each side. If you drill more than halfway through, it'll look really weird in there. And if you're square, you can pretty well bet that if you drill press is anywhere near square, it's going to turn out to be a pretty nice symmetry all around. After you do that, the 3/8 hole that I referred to on the ends, you put these. This is the way I do it. You can do it between centers, or if you got a collet chuck, we're going to talk about that afterwards. But if you have a collet chuck, then you can set it up in the collet chuck, and then you can turn that into an egg shape. And then it will look like that. This is not a great one, because if you see, the spokes got a little thin. And so you end up with that. So all you got to do now is smooth it down. Pay attention to the intersection here, because you're going to do a finial on each end. Finial, and what do you call the top? It's not the bottom is a finial and the top is a finial, right? Okay. Bruce said it. He's the finial guy. Yeah. And then so you turn somebody said icicle. If you want to call that one an icicle, turn you an icicle. Put that one in. Put that one in, you got this cool little jewel like that. The first time I ever saw one of these turned, it was Ed Fowl, and he would say, should I go one more time? Should I go one more time? Anybody Anybody ever see him do that? And no, don't go. No, I'll go one more time. But he was doing it with a skew, and it's actually easier to do with a skew than it is with a gouge. If you know how, yeah, if you know how to use a skew, right? Yeah. So anyhow, that's something that you can do. I think it's pretty striking. I love the design of it. So, but
how do you keep that from spinning in the collet truck with the valve?
tighten up tailstock. Yeah, and for mine, I use a fixture in my tailstock. We should run some of those 3/4, 3/4 10.
Okay.
And a 3/4 10 tap will get you onto your, well, it might be a what's a 1/8? What? Yeah. This is 1/8. This is that a 3/4? Yeah, 3/4 10. Here you go. So, yeah, there are a million ways you can do that, but you can make 1,000 of these things for all kinds of different things. Put your 3/8 hole in that, and then that will spin with your head stock driving. That make sense?
But just tailstock
Okay.
pressure.
Yeah, just the pressure on it. I'm going to say one more thing about the concept of these and how to put them together. And there are a bunch of them over there that are really, really nice. This is the way I was taught to put them together. You fix something on one end, drill a hole in it, and on your other end, you just put a little 1/8 inch, or actually, I started with 1/8 inch, and it was bamboo, and it wasn't even round. It was an 1/8 inch wide, but it wasn't an 1/8 inch thick. So I went to 3/16. But anyhow, that's one way to do it. Glue them together, and you're done. Some guys use super glue around there and stuff. I'm just not a super glue fan.
Nice thing about doing it that way, you're not supporting the bottom half of this off of the.
If it comes apart, it's not going to come apart and drop your bottom off. That's a good point.
Any part of the structure.
Exactly. Good point.
Glue the
Good
top
point.
on, and glue the bottom on.
Yep.
And you hang it, the shell is.
There you are.
And before I had collet chucks, I would take a big piece of hardwood like this, drill a 3/8 hole in it, put a tenon on it that fit in the surface of my jaws. But when you cut the slot in it, you want to cut it across the grain. If you cut it with the grain, it's going to break on you. So you take that and put it in your chuck with the slot lined up. And when you tighten this up, for all practical purposes, you got a collet chuck. That costs you less than a penny to make. You can go out and buy expensive collet chucks, but if you're just doing the same thing over and there, like turning tops, you could use one of these to turn spinning tops. You don't need to buy a collet. If you have a scroll chuck, these you can make any size, and it's a good thing to do. You can make these. You have a 1/4 inch, a 3/8, and just have a variety of them ready to stick into a chuck when you need a collet chuck. So, and it turns beautifully. So, talk about these sea urchins. When you make these guys, I have a device here. It's just a tapered piece of wood with some coarse sandpaper on it. And when you get these, they're not round. Just take and put that in there and keep spinning it until you get a new nice round hole, and do it the other end as well. And you're perfectly round. Then it's just a matter of turning your finial to fit inside them. This particular one I've got little hooks in the top and the bottom, and there's a little bit of rubber band. These are rubber bands that girls use for their hair. You can buy them on Amazon, 1,000 for $2. And they're not rubber, they're made out of a plastic. And they're lighter than putting wood in them. I try to make them as light as I could. So, and that works well. Just tailor your finial and your icicle to fit the shell. And I always put a downward taper, because there's these little nubs sticking out, which I try to take some of them off, but by putting a little downward gives a little bit of a shadow effect, and it fits nice. And I use one of those little rubber bands on the top as well to put a hook in it or whatever, and it's not as visible. But these work pretty nice. There's 1,000 ways of doing it. These little eyes you buy on Amazon, I think 1,000 for $5. So it's really a good way to go. This one here, I glued together. Actually, this one here is made like the ones with a dowel in it, but they're glued together. So this one here doesn't come apart. But these are great things to make. You can buy these on Amazon or any of the shell stores. They're not expensive. They're fun. You learn to use your spindle tools, and you have a lot of fun making these things. And they make great gifts. So.
Gotta give my fertilizer, new on the inside.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. What I do is I take just regular Elmer's glue and put a glob of it down in there, and I use from the wide brush. You can brush it on, roll it around, and these things, these fracture on that right between here. You just touch them and they'll break. Put a good layer of glue inside them and roll them around, and they'll hold good. This one here's got a nice layer of glue in it. And you can also use decoupage if you happen to have any of that. It actually works better. It's more fluid, and you can pour a little in there and roll it around, and it'll just coat the inside of it. So foam that I use on these, but I'll tell you what, you got to be careful. That foam expands, and it'll bust these right open. I've got several at home that put foam in, but the only problem is after you put the foam in, then you got to dig it out. Yeah. For these here, I recommend foam. These are not strong enough to hold it, but I tell you, I don't care to do these. These things here, unless you're going to bleach them or something, they lose their color. The urchins, they just stay pretty. The other ones, these here just have a tendency they got a purple to them. A lot of them, some of them have a kind of a reddish yellow in them, but they don't keep that color. You can see the brown coming through on these. So
You can also paint them.
you can also paint them. Yeah. But I just like these here. These are just so pretty. These here are a couple more that using Gary's technique. And actually what you do is I turn a little Christmas trees to put inside them. Just to take a little dowel, piece of wood, turn it and glue.
Wood inside.
This here, I think, is maple. I think this is maple. Yeah. Looks like maple. This one here is, I'm not really sure what this is right here. This is one of the first ones I made. You can tell that they're not proportional. This is not a very nice one. This should be, the finial and the icicle should be 2/3 this to get a really nice proportion. This one here is ugly. But, this one here is a little bit better, but these other ones they're prettier because you got more, I think more proportionally better. Tell you, learning to do finials are fun. You learn a whole lot by doing these things. Get your piece of 2x4 and just turn it and make finials. Just practice. I don't know if any of you ever done any ballroom dancing, but for every hour of instruction, you got 10 hours of practice. I mean, you have to practice that. That's just the way it is with wood turning. You can't decide you want to make something and use a procedure you've never used before. Take a good piece of wood and go in there and try to make something. You're just wasting your money, and you're going to get frustrated. Practice before you turn something good.
You can always cut up your bedroom furniture.
There you go. Or you can go to John's house and see John's house and get
Somebody else's bedroom furniture.
Yeah. And these guys here, these are just little birdhouses that are fun to make too. You can just make these. This is top of separate, drill a hole in it. You only have to hollow it out inside down the bottom, but they're fun to make. You go out in the garage in 10, 15 minutes, you make something like that. No. Well, that's about it. Any questions?